everyone. Hello, board members. Firstly, we'd like to thank you for your time, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and present to you about a problem that we believe IBM, more specifically IBM Watson, can be a leading industry leader in. And my name is Nishta.
Quentin.
Anisha.
And let's get started. So as our cities and urban developments continue to grow and evolve, a critical issue is intensifying. The emergency response delays within neighborhoods and within our cities, while traffic congestion is a growing challenge for all urban areas, its impact is far from equal. It's far from equal. In many underserved and underprivileged communities, outdated infrastructure, congested roadways, and systematic underinvestment have created a crisis. First responders are consistently being delayed, and lives are being put at a greater risk simply because of where people live. These delays reflect more than just a transportation and logistics problem. They represent a deep ethical and public health concern. The current system unintentionally reinforces inequality, disproportionately affecting those with the fewest resources and the greatest needs. And this is where we believe IBM Watson can lead. With our advanced AI capabilities and a commitment to equity, responsibility, and innovation, we have the opportunity to pioneer a solution that will not only improve emergency responses, but does so in a fair and just manner across every neighborhood. Access to emergency services should not just depend on one's zip code, income level, or race. Yet systematic disparities in urban planning and traffic management result in longer response times in low-income neighborhoods and higher mortality and injury rates during emergencies. Lower trust in government services is also at an all-time high amongst marginalized communities. And by dynamically adjusting routes and prioritizing underserved areas based on real-time data, and the AI system that we propose will proactively correct these imbalances, bringing us closer to a true service equity.
So, what's the solution? We propose the development of an AI-powered traffic optimization system inspired by the decentralized decision-making system seen in the ants hill. Ants, despite of their simplicity, are able to navigate complex environments and find the most efficient path to resources. IBM Watson can apply this principle to optimize traffic flow and reduce congestion, ensuring the first responders can reach emergency scenes faster and more efficiently. So, how it works? First, the goal is to self-organize network. So, using smart agents like traffic lights, vehicles, sensors, and also gathering all real-time data we can, like GPS, sensors, cameras, and all social media's input, to have real-time understanding of all the events and all the emergencies. The goal is to recreate virtual pheromone trails to guide emergency vehicle dynamically. So as fast as we can. The goal is also to use predictive modeling to anticipate congestion before it forms, like for example, closed streets or unexpected event like parade or something.
How many of you have one 19? Oh, sweet, thank you. Yes.
And then moving on to the
Wow, what a difference, huh? Yeah, no, this is the weird room. This is where we had all of our first year classes, basically.
I obviously picked the short straw to be judging in here all morning. So.
Oh, have you been in here all morning? Oh my goodness. Because 100 was refrigerated.
Oh, we were in the conference, the big room where Doug is, right? I'm Amy, by the way.
Fantastic.
Nice to meet you. I
So-
already met you, darling.
Carrie, so do you guys, I'm trying to figure out 234, so I guess you have two as well. So then, I guess.
Are you
it's
waiting?
Judges, no.
You know what, the weird thing is the people that are my judges weren't the ones that, different people keep telling me. It's right here. It's not brown. Are you guys sugar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Yep, because he didn't show up this morning, Scott.
Okay, so you want,
Sure,
cool, and you have your paperwork and everything, you need some scoring stuff?
I just need the score.
Okay, all right, cool. And you too?
Here.
Are you gonna stay here?
I'm extra if you need me.
Okay, whatever
If
you
not, I
prefer.
can head out. I do need to head out like at least 5 minutes early.
Yeah, you can go,
I
whatever you,
canceled one meeting and I had one.
whatever you prefer.
Canceled.
No, you need to go.
You're okay with it too?
Yeah, you're fine, don't worry about it.
All right,
We
then
got it,
I
we
am
got
going to abandon you because I'm sure this is amazing, but I'm gonna go do my little Thomas the Tank Engine meeting.
There you go.
Okay,
So there's gonna be
thank
two
you.
judges here, just making sure, or just
I think there's just two.
Just two, okay, two, there, not just two,
Yeah.
but two best.
Here's a water for you as well.
All right, sorry guys, keeping you waiting a bit.
No, no worries, thank you.
Tension builds.
Okay, so I'm gonna close this door for you
Okay,
guys.
perfect, thank
Okay,
you.
great, thank you. So you first round of stagnant?
Oh my God, everywhere. It's like we had 5 people here, so that the
You
last
want
one's
me
like
to do it?
behind. Okay, sure.
Okay. I have not even had a chance to read about sugar.
How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. I'm Amy, I'm your senior judge.
I'm Marcia. I am your next
Next
senior.
senior judge. And so, how this works is you have 25 minutes where you will when you go through your process, you'll introduce yourselves, you'll tell us what our personas are. And then followed by that, we'll do like 15 minutes of questions, so we won't interrupt you while you're presenting. And then the last portion will be just getting feedback and such. And so just for context, and I won't start the clock until we're done. I'm Amy Capolanti-Wolf, and I have the pleasure of serving as a chief people officer for a lot of large technology firms. I'm with Dayforce, which is an HR human capital management platform. But I've been at Pepsi, Disney, Sun, Cisco, Symantec, and thrilled to be here. And I also sit on a couple of boards as well. And so this has been a great competition so far, so looking forward to you all.
Marcia Carter, I am a senior administrative coordinator at a university. Work with the marketing department, work with sustainability, and I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, thank you, Amy.
So with that, I'm gonna put that little time, I'll keep time, and if you get if you're a couple minutes away, we're getting ready to end, I'll kind of let you guys know, but beyond that, I think you should be okay.
Sure. Would you like us to let you know who you guys are going to be before we get started in terms of the board members?
Sure,
what
whatever works for you, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to be addressing IBM, so IBM's board of directors. Is
Okay.
what we're,
Great, all right, let's get going.
All right. Hello, good afternoon, board members. Firstly, we want to thank you for your time, and we want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about an issue that we believe that IBM can be a huge role player within the industry. So let's go ahead and start it. So as our urban developments in our cities continue to grow and expand and evolve, a critical issue is intensifying. Emergency response delays within urban neighborhoods and within our cities. So while traffic congestion is a growing challenge for all urban areas, its impact is far from equal. In many underserved communities, outdated infrastructure, congested roadways, and systematic underinvestment have created a crisis. First responders are consistently delayed, and lives are being put at a greater risk simply because of where people live. These delays reflect more than just a transportation problem. They represent a deep ethical and public health concern. The current system unintentionally reinforces inequality and disproportionately affecting those with fewest resources and the greatest need. This is where we believe IBM and IBM Watson can be a leader. With our advanced AI capabilities and a commitment to equity, responsibility, and innovation, we have the opportunity to pioneer a solution that not only improves emergency responses, but does so fairly and justly across every neighborhood and community. So, why we believe this problem demands action. Access to emergency services should not depend on one's zip code, income level, or race. Yet systematic disparities in urban planning and traffic management result in longer response times in low-income neighborhoods, often resulting in 90-second delays more than any other well-income neighborhood, as well as resulting in higher mortality and injury rates during emergencies. Also resulting in lower trust within government services amongst these marginalized communities. And by dynamically adjusting routes and prioritizing underserved areas based on real-time data, we believe that our proposed AI system will proactively correct these imbalances, bringing us much closer to true service equity.
So what is the solution? We propose the development of an AI-powered traffic optimization system inspired by the decentralized decision-making system seen in ants colonies. Ants, despite their simplicity, are able to navigate in complex systems and complex environments, finding their path efficiently to resources. So the goal is to use IBM Watson to train a model based on these ant colonies to reduce congestion and answering first responders to reach emergency scenes faster. So how it works? The goal is first to self-organize organizing networks. So using traffic lights, vehicles, and sensors, we use them as smart engine to understand the environment. Second, we use real-time data, such as GPS, sensors, cameras, and social media's input. And with all these things, the goal is to create virtual pheromones, like in the ant colonies, to guide emergency vehicle faster and dynamically based on the current traffic. The goal is also to use predictive modeling to anticipate the next event that will come up in the cities, like for example, streets are closed for works, or like parade.
So advancing equity through AI. So AI and predictive analysis can identify disparities in emergency response times across neighborhoods, ensuring underserved areas receive timely support. Alongside data-driven equity audits will help continuously refine and improve service distribution, ensuring emergency service equity. Fair algorithms. Our algorithms will be trained on diverse representative data sets to avoid bias and discrimination, and use techniques such as counterfactual fairness and adversarial de-biasing to address systematic imbalances. How will we ensure community impact? We will use KPIs to assess how AI tools improve emergency service outcomes for all demographics, and our community feedback loops will guide ongoing improvements for these AI systems. And we aim to make this process as transparent as possible, building confidence within the communities. We want to establish third-party audits and ethical oversight to increase accountability and implement clear policies around data privacy.
And then with this new AI-powered system, we just want to make sure that all the legal, ethical, and social responsibilities are met. So how are we doing this? First, we will take the data privacy. which means that whatever images, whatever things we get from the camera, sensors, or the tools, they are completely anonymous and we will be encrypting them. So, which means that we will run them through the GDPR, CCPA, and all the local regulations and laws of the city and the state, and then we will run through the state. Then for the AI audit trails, we just want to make sure that it is super transparent, explainable. So if there is a question about the AI integrity, it is transparent, it is auditable. So if in case we have to prove, we have to give evidence, we can then give the evidence on the same. And the last thing is anti-discrimination. So making sure that there are no areas that are differentiated on the basis of race, color, or no areas that are differentiated on any biases. And then a sustainable and scalable business model with the sustainability and the ethical integrity in mind. We want to make sure that the business model is financially scalable as well, which means that all the reduced cost, which means that all the emergency response time we will get is going to be reduced because of the AI power system. Now, since the emergency response time is going to reduce, we will have higher urban productivity, which leads to economic gains from the reduced congestion. And the revenue options for IBM board of directors would be licensing, subscription, and consulting. So with all the three things, they can either expand their revenue or they can generate the revenue from using the same three options. And then a greener, smarter urban future. So with the financial responsibility, with the social and ethical compliances, we want to make sure that it is environmental friendly as well. So since the congestion time is going to reduce, it is going to reduce the carbon emissions. With the reduced carbon emissions, we are going to save a lot of fuel that is just wasted staying in the lines of traffic for like hours and hours. And with this, we support 3 sustainable development goals that are clean climate, there are green climate, sustainable cities, and healthier,
Good well,
goodwill.
good health and well-being.
Yes. And with this thing, we are supporting 3 United Nations goals, and yeah.
So how are we gonna implement this? So first, we need to select high needed areas. So focus on several neighborhoods and small cities that don't have a good access. We build partnership with their emergency services and the cities to get all the data we talked previously, like all the GPS data, all the KPIs we can need. The goal is to measure impacts of these first cities to the response time, the equity improvement, and the emission reduction. If this is good, then we can pass to the phase 2, which is algorithm refinement. So this will go all the phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3 to use the pilot program data to make the system smarter. So more we have data, more the system will be smarter. The goal is also to expand cities, so to have the solution to more cities and like as well bigger cities. And also we can implement a smart vehicle placement. So if we place the vehicles in a highly needed a place where there are a lot of emergencies, then they will more likely be to come faster to the emergency place. During phase 3, first we need to an adaptive refinement. So to refine the algorithm based on the equity and speed. Then based on that, continuous monitoring, so regular check using AI to ensure the system stays fair. So we check the cities and we check that everyone has the same importance to the AI model. Then transparent reporting. So the goal is to share audits to the public. So we build public trust. Then they are more likely to use the tool and share some so linked to the community engagement, share some data, like for example Waze, to give more data to the system, then the AI will be more like intelligent.
And then here's IBM's moment to lead in ethical AI. So the project reflects everything that IBM stands for: innovation, inclusion, and responsibility. So for innovation, we are trying to solve a problem which is relevant in most of the cities right now. For the inclusivity, we are making sure that there are no discrimination based on the solution that we provide. No area should be left with biases. And for the responsibility, since in the fast-paced world we are bringing AI, we just want to make sure that it is legally, socially, ethically, environmentally allowed, and we just want to make sure that we have the full responsibility of everything that's being taken care of. And so this is our call to action. We request the IBM Board of Directors to approve our pilot first. We launched the initial project in the neighborhood where the traffic congestion has been most. Then the second part will be ACT, which means that solving the challenge and moving forward with it. And the third and the last step will be creating impact, which means that we will create fairer, safer, and smarter cities without no discrimination and biases. And lastly, I just want to end this one thing, that a 90-second delay in an emergency response time can not only is a question of life and death. So with this solution, we not only save time, but we also save lives. And since we have AI in this world, it's better to use it in a way that's good and optimize it to the full maximum level. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good, very good. I'll kick off with the first question. So I have an ethical consideration question and then a business question. So I'm gonna start with the business question first that might inform. So one, how do you identify which neighborhoods that you're gonna go after? What are the metrics and the criteria by which you decide this place needs to get this augmented support?
So there is, we would need to access government records for that, because there are data available within the local cities that essentially is redlined neighborhoods. And so collecting that along with quantifying, also these first responders typically keep track of the amount of time it takes them to address, to get from where they are to where the solution is. And all of that data is recorded, and so we would need access to different records, and then from there we would segment out the different neighborhoods and then go from there.
So is the root cause you're going after traffic congestion or discrimination and bias against underserved communities? Like what is that root cause you're solving for from an ethical consideration?
Yeah, so it's serving disproportionately affected communities in terms of emergency response times is what the root cause that we're addressing, where we're also acknowledging that traffic congestion and urban development have been a result of what has caused this problem as well.
Last question, I promise. So traffic congestion is big. I mean, it's everywhere in the world. So I'm not clear about how you're going to reduce traffic congestion. I saw you did that kind of one slide that had sort of the routes that you had drawn or the technology. Can we go back to that and maybe explain that to me? I may have missed it. There, that's it.
So the goal is to do as an ant hill. So as you probably know, in ant hill, there are never traffic congestion, but they cannot talk together. So it's based on the pheromones, that is key points interest. And we will do that using all the data, so like the GPS, the sensors and stuff. We will create key points, key interest points in the city. We'll redirect the cars to these points, like using the traffic lights, their GPS and stuff. So depending of the partnership, like with, for example, Google, Waze or whatever. And so the goal is to lead the emergency vehicles to a fast pass, removing the cars to other space. I don't know if it's clear.
No, it's fine. I'm trying to, so tell me the last question and I'll pass it over. What are you solving from an ethical consideration by creating a new routes for them to get to the homes? Like, how does that impact the ethical sustainability business that you're going after?
So the concern is that these are disproportionately affected communities as a result of the way that the cities have been set up. It takes them much longer to reach these neighborhoods as a result of poor street planning, for example. Correct. And so the goal is to optimize, figure out a way using this AI algorithm for them to reach these communities in a much more efficient and effective manner, and so reach them much more faster. So that's the.
So Waze is an alternative?
Well, so if you want to.
So currently, like it's not as real time. Yeah, it's not as real time as we can do using like all the other inputs. Like for example, I think they are using only the community's input, but you can also add, like as we said, like social media's input. As you know, car crash, like you know the car crash earlier in social media than in like a real life. So if you use all this data, you can make the most efficient way to do it.
Thank you. Judges?
Okay, I have a question regarding the current infrastructure that we're talking about. Because to me, it's kind of like living in Los Angeles is like being in a Rubik's Cube of some sort. You move one over here and then this one suffers. And so would creating additional structures to handle, I mean, what am I trying to say? Additional structures,
Infrastructure?
infrastructure, the, this is my fault.
Sensors?
No, not the sensors, but the actual physical places where
Oh.
fire departments are.
Oh, okay, so the location of
Emergency
emergency
responders
service.
are.
Yeah, yeah, because if you can put an emergency responder in a neighborhood that is underserved, that could be a way to mitigate as opposed to moving people around. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Versus using AI, you're suggesting maybe we should locate these first responders closer to these underserved communities, which might be more economical, but it might be a different path to take.
Exactly. So is there any thought to that?
Yeah, the point is like if it's not currently like that, it's because it costs money. So the point is to make a tool like cheaper, so they can like deserve they can use their current infrastructure, and they don't have like to buy to create a new one.
And a lot of these neighborhoods that we're trying to address have been there for decades. And so in terms of the geographic area of where, if we were to put, for example, a fire station that's somewhere closer and anything like that, that would also be a logistical, and you would have to go through many different processes through the city to move those people who are already living there around to different areas. And so that would be, we believe, perhaps even creating further problems for the neighborhoods.
I'm John, I'm sorry I was late.
Hi, John.
Thank you for this. Working on what you said, I wanna just hear how you think about this thought I had when you were presenting. So cities are not particularly technologically advanced in their infrastructure. Much of it is very old. And it appears to me, knowing city infrastructures, that the second dot up there, plus the integration of the AI into the traffic management system of the city, even if it has one, is a very expensive proposition. And cities don't have a lot of money sitting there to even improve LA's horrible traffic situation. We probably have one of the more advanced, probably one of the most advanced in the country. So how do you think, because we're dealing with an ethical consideration of saving lives in the moment and communities who have not received the aligned resources that they should be receiving, it's an equity issue, how are cities going to even do what you're proposing to do? Because you just made the argument that it's cheaper to do this than it is to put a firehouse in a place or a police station or an ambulance depot. But I don't know. And I'm not saying I do know or don't know, but I throw that out to you as a board member would ask that question.
Yes, so basically when we talk about this being less cheaper than having a whole fire station move to a particular community, we say this because let's say like my teammate said that if we put a fire station on a particular area, the people that are living in that area will have to go to some other place, and now this entire process is going to take months for the city to approve a fire station if they want to put it there or not. Now let's say if we have the AI in our solution, which means that we already have the data, we just have to make sure that before giving the data out, the emergency helpers will get the most efficient way to the house that they want to go to. I don't know.
No, I understand that. I
Yeah.
understand. Follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I get your point, but I'm not sure I agree with it. That's another story. You could put it in an empty, you could put a firehouse in an empty lot, a community would love it, or you could move people. But I'm just thinking, I'm thinking out loud with you. So you mentioned data, you mentioned people, and having data on people that what we would call high reliability data, that if you don't get it exactly right, people die, as they are already. And the problem you're trying to solve is to do that, or to, you know, have a baby born in a better situation. It's not a dying situation. So how do cities, and maybe you didn't go this far, which is okay, there are, you know, horrible amounts of privacy laws. There are liability issues for the city in delivering this based on IBM's technology. So did you talk to cities and have them tell you that they could implement this in a reasonable amount of time, given the importance of saving lives and the ethical elements that you're talking about?
So, in all honesty, we didn't go that far.
It's a role play. You could make it up.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be a jerk.
Okay.
I'm
No,
doing
no,
it
no,
like
I
it would be
appreciate it.
done
Yeah,
in
of
a
course,
real
yeah,
setting.
yeah.
Like,
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, but that's I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, we haven't.
don't
That's
even,
okay.
don't worry, don't
But
worry.
that's
No, no.
something
As a consultant, what would you say?
What I would say is it's the first thing to go to, because you're trying to look at the customer's problem, and there's two customers, if not many more. The first customer is the dying person. Let's put it at an ethical level. We generally don't think that way. But the city's role is as an administrator of land and activities that are supposed to support the health and well-being of people, and they may be taken to a city hospital. So an interview as a consultant with people in communities of need who have had long wait times, basically if you have an under 5-minute wait time and you have a cardiac situation, my wife's a professor of nursing, you're done. Like,
Right.
you are literally done. So, and it doesn't matter if you have the AED at home, you're done. And stroke is like really bad too, but a little better. So you go interview the people, you go interview the city managers for traffic. What do they have in place? What would an integration take? What is the computational environment that they have? They could have 30-year-old computers. And then the data handoff, maybe the data is it's structured, but maybe the data is not even a way that you can hand it off easily, and AI works great with unstructured data. I know that. Then you have to talk to the city's lawyer, right? These are all interviews as a consultant. What are the privacy issues? What are the liability issues for the city? What are the policies that the city has had in place in the past around, personal data? Maybe it's okay for taking someone to a public hospital, maybe not for a private hospital. Catholic hospitals are not public hospitals. I'm just using them as an example. So these are the things that your idea is excellent. There's no doubt.
Great idea.
There's no doubt. It's unfortunately not your presentation or what you're doing. It's all in the implementation or the ability to convince someone that at the right price point, this is something to implement. And actually a company like IBM with Siemens or traffic control companies, that's exactly right. So this is a really good real world example. Sorry.
No, it's great. I have another question, which kind of piggybacks off of John's, is, so could we go through you said like the subscription model, SaaS model. So have you done the economics of like what it would cost, let's say, a Compton, I don't know, some city where there's some underserved people? Because you have to really, the people paying this is the city, right? And they're short on funds. So have you thought about what is that cost model? So as you walk in there, you can talk, like everyone's going to agree the ethical sustainability, absolutely.
There's no problem.
Yeah, you got that down. It's more of okay, I know that happens. What's the cost for me to actually close the gap on that?
Again, honestly, we don't have the exact amount of the cost that it's going to cost. But then during the research that we were doing, the only thing that I particularly saw was that having this AI solution is cheaper than having something set up in our own locality, like let's say for a fire station. So this thing, the solution, it's a little less cheaper as compared to having a whole fire station set up in that particular area. That's the basic thing that we just did.
Yeah, and that I get that, and that would be great to have like in a matrix. It says like, here are the options, here's the cost.
Yeah.
And that way, because at the end of the day, the board's gonna want to know, yeah, we believe in it, but what's the cost?
Right.
So Amy, just to give you a trick, this is for life, like not a presentation trick. So you have it right there already in the argument. You don't know the number yet, but you have it, which is you look at what the liability that the city is paying for insurance and settlements. They don't have insurance actually for their settlements on ambulance times. I'm making it up. It's a big city like Long Beach, and they pay out $15 million a year. Okay, I made that number up. Maybe I'm not so far off. They could have $50 million lawsuits, which are very usual, and they settle, but they settle. So the reduction of that cost is the implementation of your system, and you look at what's the cost of implementation of your system versus the liability cost. It's the easiest first thing, plus then you gotta go all the other things, but you go, oh my gosh, it's only gonna cost $5 million a year for the IBM service for this. It's gonna reduce a $15 million liability cost, and I'm making up a number and I'm way low. It only costs $10 million to implement the first time. They'll do it all day long as their legal, ethical issues all align and their community is engaged. So that's just a little trick, because you have it right there. So then you can answer Amy's question not directly. Hers is the right question, you should be able to answer it directly, right? But that's one way to say it that would give you flexibility, because not all cities are the same.
Right.
Who gets sued more, LA or 50,000 person city over in the west of LA County? LA.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So sorry. Okay.
No, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
I have another question. So I can see the good, no question. What's the harm from an ethical perspective that this potential AI model could do for the community or for the people you're trying to address?
So I guess the negative would be all the data that we're going to need to use to access and build out this model. And so, like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different regulations and laws that we're going to have to jump and hurdle through in terms of data privacy. And even beyond that, if we are able to do that, which we do have like a plan in place to be able to do that. But there's also data bias, and that's involved, and so that's the data is the biggest. Yes,
The PII, the personal information.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have a timeline for this? Have you set a timeline? Say this is 2025 will be done by, we can do this by 2027.
So as we said, there are two different things, like based on the feedbacks as well.
Mhm.
The first is like updating the cities, like the infrastructures. So like have dynamic sensors, dynamic lights, stuff like that.
Right.
And then there is also the algorithm implementation. So all of these could be fit in 1 year to have the first version, depending on like what the city as well. Like to have the first version of the algorithm, and then after you can expand it to all the cities, like depending on the time.
So you do a pilot
Roughly,
program.
it should be done, let's say if we start working now in April 2025, it should be done in around May 2027. So 2 years is the max timeline that we will require for the solution to get
To
out.
roll out the initial process, and then beyond that, of course, to make updates and revisions that could take up to another like,
year, yeah.
few years.
Just one thing on the data. This is because you'll probably go out there and do something with AI, which would be great. One of the problems is that the data sets don't include representative samples. The classic is in pharmaceuticals, only, I just looked it up, about 30% of all what are called randomized controlled trials, which allow drugs to come onto the market, only 30% of the participants of those are women. That's just a male-female thing. So those are inherently biased data sets, because drugs may work very differently on women than on men. Right? Same problem here. The data represents probably the best of the world and very little of the more difficult side of things. And I'm not saying best, I mean, few places where there's a lot of money. So one thing too to follow on besides the privacy security piece in terms of the issue of what can go wrong is that your models are trained on the wrong populations that have inherent bias in the data already. So you have to build your model and then compare it to, I'll call it a digital twin model that's fair, and then see how those two work together. So this is really, you're at the cutting edge of stuff. Super challenging though.
Absolutely,
Sorry.
and that's why we believe we believe in not only using third-party data, but also using, as Quentin mentioned, the security, all the cameras and
sensors,
sensors and all of
cameras,
that. And we want to kind of make conjunction with both our first-party and third-party data collection. Absolutely.
How would you engage the first responders? Would you do focus groups? Would you try to collect, because they have a lot of probably anecdotal. I don't know if they have actual time to get to a house, if that's something that they measure, in their vehicles or what, but like, how are you thinking about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, in big cities.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
What about the anecdotal side? Would you want to sit them down and say, give us some more perspective or color on this? Or do you feel like you don't need that because you've got what you need from a?
No, absolutely not. I think it would be imperative that we speak to them as well. We can collect kind of all the data that we want, but it's also really important that we have that person to person, both the quantitative and qualitative data, to make sure, because data is not perfect. And so, as much as we can try to combine both first party and third party data, it's imperative that those first responders who make contact and are doing their day-to-day routines of, they have insights that are absolutely invaluable and that data cannot kind of show us in terms of what we need to be able to better perfect and develop our algorithm.
You could also play off their oath, right? The Hippocratic oath, in the sense of back to the sustainability and ethical side of it is like they've signed up to do this work and they're probably very mission oriented to do it. So they might be something you could leverage in how you sell this, because it's imperative that they can do their job to the best of their ability, right?
Yes.
It's kind of a humanitarian thing that I think is like, which makes this so interesting. Any other questions? Okay, well, first of all, congratulations. I know these things are kind of stressful. That's not what it's intended to be. So great questions, and I think you guys have a fantastic idea. So let's get some feedback for the group. So who wants? I'll have to kick it off just briefly. So I think your idea is phenomenal. I mean, I really think there's something to it in terms of finding different modes to get to these people quickly and fairly. So I think you've laid that out well. I think the opportunity would be to put more of the sort of the financials behind, like, okay, we all agree, like, wholeheartedly this is the right thing to do, but how do you get to see the light of day, so that cities will say, okay, I'm not going to do it because I'm removing liability. I'm also doing it because I can afford it, and I will actually spend less money and probably have better performance related to like medical procedures, costs for those on welfare that require, medical insurance, et cetera. I'm going further, but I think that would be helpful because that will help kind of cement your case.
A couple things I would think about doing, because you have it in here, is when you're showing the slides, one thing that is sort of a cheat is up front to show very early, before you dive in, the problem. I'm going to just use a very large construct. That would include all the sub-problems, ethical, but you don't write that on the slide. Your proposed solution, and then the benefits, okay? Then you go through them, linking them together, including issues of everything from your implementation plan to a financial, and I'm not saying build out a giant model for this type of thing, but in the real world, you're doing this, right? And then a big, big piece of this is what we don't know and need to learn. Mm-hmm. So that was where we got to with the city and interviewing people. Because right there, if that were up there now, because that's how you would do it in a real, an early presentation. This is not the end, right, with a consulting client. And they'd go, okay, well, let's get you in and talk to Jane in traffic management and, Steve in dispatch of emergency vehicles. And I think that would have helped me follow, because once you said it, I understood it, because I can see it. But if you stated it, you would be able to relax a lot more. Not that you didn't look relaxed and you presented it. I'm not saying that. But in your mind, you're basically saying, we're taking you on the journey that we went through. Here are the things that we define as the problem. These are the solutions we see, IBM. And here's what we don't know yet to get to the fulsome answer, but you have to spend, you don't have to say you have to spend it all. Another trick is to say, we want the board to give us, because these are big companies, $1 billion for a pilot project when the actual project could cost $4 billion. Billion's too high, 20 million, right, to start it. And that would have helped. So it would have just given us like, it's like having a map, right? The map doesn't show you what buildings you're going by or whatever, but you could say, I'm going over GPS. You're going from here and I'm going over there. That would just, I think, just add a little, it's a little upgrade.
Easy for us to follow, I
Yeah.
think, too.
Makes it easier for the audience.
Yeah.
A little more quantitative information. If you do sit before a board, they're gonna wanna know about their bottom line. How is this gonna affect me, my family, my everything? They're gonna see numbers.
Do you know, like in a board, like in a, this could be a not-for-profit board or it's a little different, but in a big company board, do you know the general composition of the people in the room? Let me tell you, it's really easy. There's going to be the CEO or a chairman in the U.S. that's tied together, and that's a governance problem. That's for another thing. There's going to be the CFO, to the point you're always going to have the numbers question.
Yep.
You're going to have the general counsel, which is the head legal person in the company. 95% of the time now, you're going to have the head of talent or HR, because that's a legal role. It's not who are we hiring. And then you're going to have different people come in, if there's a COO, or if there's a head of a business unit that's going to come and talk about like a big investment. And so that's why you're going to get questions. And then the board members themselves that are from other companies or for not-for-profits or academia or the like, they'll have little areas of expertise. And they'll often ask questions, from where they've sat for most of it. So if you've got someone with a finance background and you're talking about doing not this, but like something that requires a lot of deals and capital, you're going to get a lot of finance questions. So that structure is sort of like a placeholder one for you, because those would be the people. And that would be in a big not-for-profit. You go into the Gates Foundation, it's going to be the same. I mean, it's like probably even harder.
And the last thing, I didn't know like what each of your roles were, because as
Oh,
consultants.
that's a good one. Yeah.
So what were they, just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
I was the social ethical analyst. I just had to make sure that the solution that we provide is going under the social and ethical levels.
Got it.
More for the ethical part, like understanding what's the point, what is the interest of the first responders.
And mine was more legal. So.
Okay. So team slide is good. Like, here's your team. You get to put yourself up on a slide.
Yeah.
Introduce yourselves
Yes.
and who you are and what you're about to do.
So that's credibility, right? So you know who you're talking to. Let me ask you how did it go for you guys?
We had a mix of emotions before we presented. We were like, we don't know how the solution is going to look. We don't know how scalable this is. But then after presenting, I just feel amazing. I mean, after the feedbacks that we got, it's super amazing.
Question, how did you all come up with this particular issue?
We were exploring different, we were looking at the different UN goals, and that's kind of how we narrowed down the topics that piqued our interest the most. And then from there, we kind of chose urban development. And we're, as a team, we're also working on other projects in relations to AI. And so we wanted to find a way to kind of incorporate AI and our UN sustainable goal And then coming to LA, traffic is a huge problem, and so we kind of picked and choose the different things, and then we read a few articles in terms of how first responder delays to disproportionately affected communities, and so that's we kind of narrowed it down like that.
Did you consider actually having someone who is AI savvy on your team?
Yeah.
We can say like it's me. I'm a computer science major
Oh, there
based
you
on
go.
AI. So
If you're not working on it, you're not gonna be in the business very long. So great you're here. 'Cause you're working on it. One thing I would say that's interesting is it was a really good question. How'd you come to this? Another thing is to like set a framework like up front. Like we're gonna talk about LA, but I mean you can ask ChatGPT. What percentage of the world's population in developing markets and in large in first world countries, there's about 1.5 billion people that live in the first, what we call the first world, bad names, and then there's 6.5 in developing. Urbanization's happening everywhere. So your idea is, especially when you're dealing with a moral ethical framework, your idea is very global. So you can say that shows a board, this is a big issue. Also, it's not just this project, it could be a market everywhere, right? And then you come back to, I mean, that's like literally, I could do that in 15 seconds of talking. It might take you 30. I'm not saying that's bad because I've just been doing it for like 20 years. And then you have all of a sudden people's attention in a really big way because it's a giant problem around the world, especially as cities like Lagos, it's over 22 million people in Africa. I guarantee you they're thinking, and they had no infrastructure to start with, so they're in a better position to create new infrastructure. Too expensive, all the issues for everywhere. But this is a cool thing, just so you feel charged up about what you did for a lot of places.
Okay, what do you all want to do when you grow up?
Yeah.
When I grow up, I definitely want to have my own business, which involves AI for sure.
Okay.
And don't know what the business looks like, don't know what I'll be doing, but just have this mentality that I want to have something of my own with AI and solve a real world problem.
And your
Not-
information systems, right? So
Yes.
you've got that background.
That's good.
So for me, I'm working on several like startup ideas about AI as well. So like entrepreneurship or something like that as well.
Very good.
Yeah, and similar for me, I want to work within tech, and I'm passionate about human-centered design, and so kind of merging tech with human-centered design is the space that I want to be in.
I heard a great line, you'll love it because you can use this. When people say human-centered design, it's the biggest fallacy in the world because all design should be human-centered. That we have to say it means that we weren't actually designing, we were engineering. So it's a really good thing that you want to be, design it. It's designed for good, for impact. That's good.
Very good. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
You did it.